Hi, I just wanted to pop in and say hello and happy Christmas, and to do a really quick demo for you. I've been kind of waiting for my voice to come back because I've had a cold and now I have laryngitis, but what the heck, I'll just go for it. Um, Today I'd like to show you how I made these like very simple winter forest scenes. I first made them with my collaboration workshop that I gave about 3 weeks ago at the local art gallery, and we actually collaborated in this exercise by people using the same idea to create work that was very similar but different. So let me just flip my camera around and I'll show you what I've been up to. So these are the winter forest scenes. I think this one goes like this actually. This was mine, and this was one of my students, Carol North's. So she chose a different palette, and they make, especially if they're in different palettes, really nice sets. So what I want to do, I'm going to work in this color and family and just show you the few simple steps that we took to create these images. And what we'll be doing is working on a larger piece. I really like to work on larger pieces, and then you can cut them down. You can use these to make Christmas cards and gift tags. So now the first step is to just create a lot of mark making. And I have a couple of images. I couldn't find them, but just take any. It's interesting if it's a black and white image. Images of bare winter trees. Maybe you have some photographs. You can just grab them from the internet. I have them in my mind, and of course all our trees are bare here, so I see them every day. I'm just going to jump in with the materials. So I've got a lot of different kinds of weights of pens and markers, and I'm just going to kind of use them all to create a very lively drawing. And when we vary our weight, we can create kind of more lively drawings, because they instantly assume a kind of depth if you're using different weights of line. Now, if you're watching, be sure to drop a comment in. And if you have any questions, also drop a comment in, and I can always answer them when I look at the post later. So I'm just going to start creating some lines. In this blue-green color family. These are beautiful. They're called Zig Clean Color brush pens. They've got a really nice feel. Kuretake, they're Japanese pens. Let's try a finer line, a click art, zebra click art pen, again, in blues. And I'm just being very, very loose. And, it's really important when we draw to relax and just, there's really nothing you can do wrong here. You just have to kind of have some fun. Keep your arm relaxed from the shoulder down whenever you draw. That really helps. Here's a black Kuretake pen. Yeah, these are nice because the brush is always a beautiful tool to work with, because you can weight it. It has its own weight. You can push down and pull up. The brush is actually, I think, the most beautiful drawing tool. I also really like to use twigs, but I usually use them with India ink, and they take too long to dry in this setting. But I really encourage you to try working with twigs. I really love tools, as many of you know, that take the control out of our hands and let kind of serendipitous things happen. Now here's a heavier one. It's the Pentel pen. So as soon as we get some heavier lines in, you see how the depth starts to pop out as soon as you vary the weight of line significantly. Let's use one of these. I got this from the dollar store. These are fantastic. They're paint sticks. And in Canada, of course, everything's in French and English. Bâtonnet de peinture à séchage rapide. So they dry very quickly. They're waxy, but they dry quickly, and they have this beautiful kind of kind of like the perfect crayon. I've got a bit of a thicker line, and they kind of go on in a very smooth, silky way. And I have a blue one here too. Let's add some of that. That's nice. And how about a darker one? Just add a little bit of this. So check out your local dollar store. This is a purple one. So we're kind of working in an analogous palette, colors that are very close to each other on the color wheel. And let's see what else I have. I'd like to get some greens in there. You can throw in some oil pastel too. I always love to work with oil pastel. The color is just so intense. Got a little green in here too. Now, let's just call that done for the mark making for now. And now I'm going to get some drawing gum. And if some of you have done my Joyful Plant Abstraction or Rich Surfaces, which are on the Learn With Me page, self-directed page on my website, you know that I really like to use drawing gum again because it kind of creates these surprises. And this is my favorite one, Pebeo drawing gum. It's very liquid, goes on really smoothly, dries quickly, it's easy to lift. Now some of these things haven't had time to dry, so as I lift the drawing gum, they might smudge a little, but that's okay. It's just one step along the way. And again, it's nice to have different weights of line. So I have some different brushes here. So I really love the rigger kinds of brushes. I've wet this brush first so that it will not dry too quickly, because once the drawing gum dries, it's hard to get out of a brush. So some people put a little bit of soap on their brush first. I like to just wet it and then really keep track of how long I'm working with it, and then get it into the water quickly. I've got water up here, this direction. And here's some flats too. I'll use a flat again just to get a different kind of line. Now I want some white space left too, so we'll just leave it at that. And I'm going to have to let that dry before I move on to the next step. Maybe I'll just quickly put it under the blow dryer. So the next step is to throw some ink or paint on, just really thin layers. So I've got some different inks here. I've got a Bombay India ink, and these are the acrylic inks. Here's a green one, Ecoline, and this one. I have several brands. Amsterdam. I also have some FWs, like this one here. This is a burnt umber. It's not really what I was planning to use today. I just wanted to show you the brand. It's nice to have a little dropper to put the inks on if they don't come with their own. So I'm going to put a little bit of this Aqua colored India ink on. And get a wet flat. And just start applying, moving the ink around. And I can feel how the drawing gum is resisting here. So remember that where we put the drawing gum down will be protected. So it'll still be, whatever was underneath it will still be the same. One thing I like to do at this stage is to grab some paper towel and just lift a little bit. I've got a little bit of this paper towel. I'm going to just use a roller so I can get that kind of vertical bands. Just to create a little bit of variation. Maybe we could, while it's wet too, drop a little green in. Just for fun. That's nice. And we can either move that with a brush, or sometimes it's nice to just let it kind of flow through. Kind of beautiful. So I'm going to dry this and lift the drawing gum, and then we'll see what the next layer suggests that we do. So now we lift the drawing gum off, and you can get a little kind of rubber tool to do this. But I like to do it with my fingers on a small work like this because you can feel where the drawing gum is, and you do want to lift it all. You don't want to leave any behind. So the plot thickens, starting to get interesting. I always say that every layer makes it better. Which is partly the way I work. But also, if you kind of feel that way, then you get less attached to what's underneath, and you're more willing to kind of take risks and see what happens as you start to layer up several layers. Now, at this point, if you're going to add some more things as far as paint or ink goes, remember, you don't want to lose all your white because it's partly what makes the other colors look so bright. But I do have a couple of acrylic paint colors here. These are actually heavy body. There's a bright blue and French ultramarine, because I really like French ultramarine. So I thought I'd just put a little bit of that on, but I'm going to be really light with it so that it doesn't, cover up those nice whites that we protected. So I'm just putting on the French ultramarine really thinly. Just kind of makes another layer of complication. Maybe these push some areas back. And we'll try the bright blue too. It's a really beautiful color. Kind of like a manganese or a cerulean. So I'm being careful not to cover too much up. Just creating a little bit more dimension. You'll see how when I put a blue in, some things, it pushes things back. Now the next step is to add collage pieces. So I don't know about you, but I have a lot of collage pieces that I've just, created through jelly printing and creating different kinds of papers for different projects. And so I have a big stash of it. I'm just going to grab some that I thought might work. I don't think this is in the right palette. So these ones do, though. So I think I'll add some of those now. I could tear or cut, and I'll just tear a couple of pieces off to start with. Maybe do both, variety and difference is something our eye looks for. For instance, we could combine both ragged and smooth edges. Let's try that. So now I'm going to use glue, of course, to glue that on. I'm going to use I like to just use a white glue. I water it down just a little bit. And a flat brush. I'll get a small flat. Actually, I'm just going to give this one more dash of drying because I don't want to glue onto a wet surface. Okay, so I'll get my white glue and just kind of jump in. I love collage because it really changes things. You put a piece of collage on, it just seems to take things in a new direction. I'm going to put this in. And now when you collage down, you need to make sure that whatever you're using to stick it down, whether it's glue or medium, get it really well distributed, both under and over. You don't want bubbles. And let's do another one. That's really beautiful, I think. I'll use my scissors for this one. Paper has a grain, and it'll rip in one direction easily and not in others. So let's put another one of these on. Put it over here. So it's just so lively, the collage. It really sort of pushes things in a different direction. Like you can reintroduce some white too. Let's see what else I've got here. This is kind of a beautiful one too. And let's take a look at some of the other ones that we've got here. So we decided against this one. I don't think that's going to work. The really dark blues here are nice. Let's see if this rips in an interesting way. So I want to vary the weight of these collage pieces too, so some of them are quite thick. It's really good if some are also very thin. So you can see how the variation in this inside one color family is kind of all you need to make, sometimes to make a really lively surface. This is more of a cobalt blue in this one. And let's do another piece of that. Just rip a really thin one. Again, this is a jelly print. Just leftover scraps of jelly prints. You can also use a matte medium for this part as well. So I'm just going to switch to matte medium now. And I don't see any comments yet, but I'm not sure I've got my settings set for comments, so be sure to drop some comments if you have anything to say about this. This is a beautiful piece of print as well. This is on deli paper. So it'll be a little bit more transparent as it goes down. I really love working with transparent papers because you get to see what's underneath. So I don't know whether you can see that, but there's just a little bit of what's under there coming through. I just really love that kind of interaction. And here's another piece of this one. So let's do just one more, and then I think we're kind of getting there. I like the really dark value in here. So you just want to, you know, create a difference in textures, difference in inside that color family, and difference in values. Of course, values are always effective in creating, you know, sort of exciting images. Just put one more. It's getting really busy now, but I'm having so much fun. I don't want to stop. Let's put this one over here. Okay, so this is what we've got here. And one of the things that we can do at this stage is to do some overdrawing. So I'm going to actually put this aside because I want to go on to what you can do with these. So before I do though, I want to talk about what I mean by overdrawing. I could take some more of my mark making tools and then draw, interact again with the collage pieces. So for instance, run some white twigs over these other pieces. So when we collage, things kind of sit on the surface. So I think it's important then to go back in and kind of interact with it. So the two pieces, the two layers, the collage sitting on the surface and all the underpainting integrate. So let's set that aside, and I'll grab another piece that I've already worked on. And I think you can see what I mean by that going back in and overdrawing. I'll just grab some tools here. So, here's a white jelly pen. Maybe I'll take a black as well. So that now the two layers start to become integrated. And what I've done with this actually is I've cut out a couple of pieces to make cards. So, I love working on paper this way because we're not very, as I say, we're not that invested in what we're putting down as we build through the layers, in so much as making a really functioning composition in that format of paper. Because the paper is something we can always go in and interact with. So we can cut it up and we can find the little compositions that work. I find that a couple of framers, like these are just scraps of mat board, are really helpful for this. So what I do is kind of find what's working. And I'm going to be using these card sets. I get these blank card sets. They come with the papers, the cards themselves, and then with the envelopes. So I'll just show you how I do that. I'll start with a piece of chalk. Now, it's really helpful to have a cutting mat for this so that you make sure that your cuts are straight. Because if your cuts aren't straight, they're going to look really odd. They'll look wonky when you glue them onto these very exact cards. So I like to work with these cutting mats. And I sort of get the sense of my composition. First of all, line the mat up. And then along these lines. And then find your composition again. And then have a little marker. Just use this little white here to mark the corners. Actually, this one's going to need something darker. I'll get this dark blue pen. And then when you cut them, grab your ruler. And an Exacto knife. And then make sure again that they're lined up straight, because this is the crucial point. And make sure that your ruler is, if it's not sitting on a line, just check that it's pretty parallel to that line. And then cut. And do this again up here. You probably can't see these marks, but I can. This one would work if I just ran it along this line here. And this one is here. So I'm going to run it along this line. It's always easiest if you can actually run along a marked line. Oh, this one just needs a little trimming. Okay. Now, of course, it has to fit inside this dimension, so I'm going to have to trim this off. Just a little trim the top off. And then we'll just get our matte medium or glue and glue it well. And then I always sit it under books. So let me grab a couple I've done already. These are two from that same set. And as you can see, it really does not take long. It's a really quick way to make some really nice images that you can make with friends. As I said, we first made these as collaborative works, and you can make your own. You're basically collaborating in the sense you're using the same idea and maybe working in different palettes, or you could pass them back and forth. And one person could do one layer, the next person could do the next layer, and then cut them all up and share them for your Christmas cards or gift tags. So I hope that you have a beautiful Christmas and that you manage to find a little bit of time to make some art.